I think we're ready, you guys. Lewis Brackpool, how are you? Kian
I'm very
Simone,
well. How are you?
going from vertical. Mocha Bezirgan, how are you? Live from Turkey, I imagine.
Hello, guys. All of your sounds are coming very funny to me. They're all like in slow motion, and they sound very thick.
Your connection must be bad in Turkey then. Lewis sounds a little bit hot.
Me?
Yeah, it sounds fine for the rest of us. Kian, you usually have the best setup. How's yours?
It's good. It's fine.
Well, there you go.
First time whipping it all out since I got here.
Yeah, he's always whipping it out. It's off to a bad start. I don't really have anything planned. We sort of just threw this together, guys. Calling it the Andrew Says podcast. There's like 17 shows that are called Andrew Says, I think, at this point. Lewis, how's everything going in the UK? Let everybody know what's going on with you these days.
Oh, it's just more and more depressing. But like, what is there to say? We've rolled out the old V passes now in England, and well, I started a petition, didn't I? Fighting against the vaccine passports. rebelnews.com/fight vaccine passports UK, where I'll hand deliver your signatures to the Houses of Parliament, and we're trying to shut that down because it doesn't work. It's well, we know we've had this discussion on many occasions, on stream and in private, but we know that it's just a tool for segregation and discrimination. So we're trying to get rid of that and save as many businesses as possible. So that's been the big news. I mean, today I've just been a bit of a manic depressive, going through lots of documentation on official government documentation. There's the oh wow, 5,947 signatures. It's been 6 days since that was originally up, so nearly 1,000 a day. I'm pretty happy with that, considering the size of my following. But yeah, I've been going through government documentation. I saw Andrew that you reshared it earlier on Instagram, where the UK government back in May published a document to talk about human augmentation, which is pretty scary. So fusing man and AI, talking about big brain computers and modifying your genetics, and you can edit and delete DNA and things like that. And their biggest reliability is personal data. Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all. Just playing God as you do. So yeah, and it says in the documentation it relies on personal data. So it kind of all links in a big circle. So I've been very depressive and reading through that and just blackpilling myself.
I've had a theory myself about YouTube and that 23andMe company, the place that takes your DNA. That's actually operated by the same family. The YouTube CEO lady, Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of 23andMe, is her sister. So I don't see how that's not going to overlap at all. Kian, how's the weather out there? Various sports teams you're representing today. It's pretty confusing for all of us, I think.
I actually just like the hat. I've never watched baseball in my life.
Yes.
It is freezing here. It is so cold, and I actually just got over Omicron. I'm on my last day of it. The cold definitely didn't help. But it's so cold here that my back door, the one that you can see just on my left here, my right on the camera, is like frozen shut. It's that cold. The ice just creeps in through the window and it goes onto the walls. It's freezing.
So did you get tested then?
Of it. No, my fiance had to get tested for work because she had to call in, and then she tested positive. But we had the same symptoms. She's still sick, but I'm okay now.
So we all have vaccine passports everywhere we are, right? You guys have it out in Alberta. Lewis has it. Mocha, how do you feel about all this? Unless you're frozen, or you're just sitting? Okay, you're not frozen. You're just very still.
Well, it is really cold here. I'm in the same city with Kian, which is Calgary. And yeah, it is true. The ice in from the windows to the walls, and you know that song, to the window, to the wall.
I do.
Anyways, yeah, the lockdowns, the vaccine passports, they are it's getting a little depressing here. but I believe I'm built to survive prolonged amounts of stress.
Are
And
you?
so I believe so. I mean, if I came up all the way up to this point, to this age, I think I am. I mean, look, I mean, I'm from Turkey, and in Turkey you will see people, they're just my age, but like 40 years old. Why do they look 40 years old? Because of stress. The stress really kills you. Anyways, lockdowns, vaccine passports, I know they just suck. And the fact is, most of the cases, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but most of the
Yeah,
cases
you
are among
can.
the vaccinated individuals. And since we
Yes.
had the vaccine passport anyways, it's only possible that a vaccinated person has brought this virus to this country. I wish the vaccinated individuals were enjoying their time, going to restaurants, and living in a society.
Do you
I mean,
not
I
think
wish
it's
they just.
weird? Like, I was going to just add, do you not think it's weird that, somehow this Omicron managed to get to Australia when most people aren't really allowed in or out? I find that really, really odd, and how they found Omicron in Europe before the South African government even announced it in their own
Well, they
in
hate
their own
South
country.
Africa for not. The powers that be seem to hate South Africa for not abiding by their vaccination and all their rules. South Africa's a
Yeah.
weird place. I'd imagine I wouldn't want to live there necessarily. Well, with the race wars and such, and
Yeah.
all the documentaries that have been done about that. But Australia is just written off at this point. I don't even count it. It's gone back to prison colony, and like Canada's obviously not much better, but it's still better. Like you don't have to go to a literal camp. The stories that were being written a few weeks ago, if you guys remember, about all the like influencers that went to these Australian quarantine camps and they pretended like they're having a
Oh
great
yeah,
time.
It's so
Oh,
dystopian.
that's so weird. Oh, I know. It's
man.
the craziest thing ever.
It's like Hunger Games when there's those people who dress up like all nice and whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever. And then there's just all those people who are just fighting for their lives.
Well, I was telling the story that before I went on, I went to this coffee shop earlier today, and this lady's sitting right near the front. And of course, you can only stay seated in the coffee shop if you have a vaccine passport. But I'm standing there waiting for my coffee, and this woman with her three friends, all unmasked, of course, drinking their coffee, she's complaining about how so and so that she knows doesn't take coronavirus seriously enough, and they need to take it more seriously. They're just hoping that it doesn't exist if they don't talk about it. And I'm thinking, like, I'm 3 feet away from you. I'm unvaccinated. And you're just sitting here willy nilly with your mask off, talking like nobody. Like, why are you? Is this an essential service that you have to be here, sitting inside this coffee shop?
It's
It's
like that. It's like that bird on the airlines that was howling abuse at that old man and then starts spitting at him for not wearing a mask. And
well,
you're
that
like,
makes
yeah,
sense.
people have
I should
lost the
mention.
plot, man.
I should mention, I guess we're on Twitter, we're live on YouTube and Getter. This streaming program, it doesn't pull from Twitter anymore. The viewer count ever since they switched off Periscope, it's weird, but yeah. So right now we've got a good 16 people on Getter. Shout out to Getter for being so nice to me always. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but they're nice to me to let me have live streaming on there. Mocha, how are you feeling about the government these days? I just want there to be a Mocha like show where he just complains about the government for an hour each week.
I'd pay
Well,
for
the
that.
question in my mind right now is, I mean, this question has been in my mind for the last 2 years. When the government says you're not essential, you are essential. Today you're not essential. Oh, today you're essential. I'm like, essential to who? Essential to what? Who are you to say? Who are you to decide? I mean, why don't you try to fill the potholes on the highway? Why are you being busy with deciding whether or not I deserve to earn a living or not? And I feel like I've been frauded by the government when the government gave all these money to people for free, and most of it went to organized crime. You know the money that I'm talking about, the for
Taxpayer.
people who have, yeah, for the people who lost their jobs because the government shut down
Right,
their
right.
businesses. Yeah, and most of
They
the
just
people who took that money,
reintroduced it. Yeah.
yeah, and not most maybe, but considerable amount of people who took that money were already employed, and there will be no punishment for that. So I feel like I'm a fool for not taking that money. I mean, it's I don't know how the government still exists, but what do I know?
What do you know? Here's some B-roll of Mocha in his younger days in 2017. For those of you guys who don't know, check the view
Here,
count on that one. I don't know why, Mocha. I love bragging for you about your Turkish fame.
thank you. Well, look here. This is a scene where, for example, the guy on the left is a rapper, and the guy on the right is an old school rapper, and they are like talking about disagreeing. And then this provocateur comes out of nowhere and says only one type of rap is real rap, and like here's a Muslim and an atheist arguing, in a civilized way. And then this provocateur comes in and that says very provocative stuff and disrupts the conversation.
Now, I tell you guys that even though it's in Turkish, it is actually hilarious just to watch. He's got one where they go back in time to shoot Hitler or something, but Hitler's got a clone, so they don't know which Hitler to shoot. Stuff about communism, and if you look at the channel, I'll bring it back up here. This is how Mocha made it big. See, he's the they're still using him as their. You're not doing stuff for them anymore, right? They're still working off your fame.
Channel.
Oh, okay, so it's yours then.
Yeah, it is. But I'm not, because I'm in Canada. I'm not able to continue because I don't have my crew. I don't have my actors. We were a team, and when that team is gone, it's very difficult to do it all by yourself. And right now, I'm doing based on my own personal channel, Abdussalem Bezirgan, and it has about 20,000 subscribers. And what I'm doing there is basically, I've been recently posting videos there about the economic crisis in Turkey, and it's pretty tough there right now.
I'm subscribed. I don't know about you guys.
Lewis, I don't know if you know this, but Mocha and I went to school together. Andrew, you probably knew that. Mocha, Lincoln, and we went to school together.
Yeah, it's a weird
way.
I never
weird.
Separation.
We were all in the same class. Mocha was in one corner, I was in the other. Lincoln was in the middle. I'm pretty sure Mocha and Lincoln talked a lot more. I never said a word to Mocha. I said a few to Lincoln. And I remember it was like a good 2 weeks, me and my buddies. It was like a huge thing that we found out Mocha was famous in Turkey. And we were just talking about it the whole time. We would just look at him, just like, this guy's actually famous. What the hell? It was pretty funny.
That's a weird. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on the timeline, Mocha, but producer Efron, working at Rebel News for years, then he brings in Lincoln, or is it Mocha first, who then brings in Lincoln, and then you guys all bring in Kian, and also Efron's cousin worked there for a while. Is that right, Mocha, or did I get it reverse?
Yeah. First, Efron brought me. We met we were working on a documentary called Better Left Unsaid as video editors, and he found me there. I found him. I'm like, wait, what? You're with Rebel News? Hey, I'm a big fan. And he's like, hey, we're actually looking for a video editor. Oh, I remember this day. This was peak coronavirus when the government was blocking swing sets for your safety.
And Lewis,
proper rebel.
Yeah, I'm putting you on blast here, Lewis. And what was your process of getting hired? Did you win a lottery or something?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, so I was made redundant from my previous job. Believe it or not, I was a trolley dolly, working as a flight attendant. Yeah.
He needs to translate that.
You can't just jump over that.
Yeah.
A trolley dolly, I was.
A trolley dolly in it.
I was a chimney sweep.
Flight attendant. so air hosty, and I was doing that for 2.5 years, nearly 3 years. Was made redundant because of the old China virus, and then I thought, do you know what? I want to get back into video making because I used to do it when I was a lot younger, and I thought I'm gonna start making YouTube videos. You know, I wasn't allowed to say anything when I was working for the company that I was obviously flying with. You couldn't post on social media. They were literally like Big Brother. They would just look at everything that you would post and make sure that you wouldn't be, I don't know, just saying something a bit, out of the ordinary. But people, had an idea that I was a bit more conservative. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm gonna really take this to the next level. So I started doing YouTube videos, posted like one nearly every week, just about talking about what's happening. And a year's time, I saw that Ezra wanted to expand Rebel News in the UK, and I just applied. I just thought, why not? I went to an anti-lockdown protest recently for another company called Red Liberty, who are out in the States, and I just cut up their video really and used it as a submission. And yeah, then Ezra gave me a call, and here we are, bullying each other every single day, which is great.
I always wonder if people think that we hate each other, because a lot of people think that me and Menzies hate each other because of our live streams. There was a good month where we were doing the live stream at least 2 times a week with each other on Rebel News, and people just start super chatting. It's like, Andrew, I wish you were nicer to David Menzies. I wish you two could get along. They should really get people who don't hate each other to do the live stream together. And David Menzies is just a 60-year-old man, or however old he is, who just enjoys insulting me as much as I insult him. So it's a good time.
It's good banter, mate. It's good banter.
It's good fucking banter, mate.
That's it.
Sorry,
and then I get
see,
that
this
every
is
day.
that's
fine.
natural.
It's like a tick.
It is. It's like when the French reporters, all the Rebel News French team were around for a week, and just anytime they say something to me, I'm just like, "Oh, did you get your poutine?" Nah. Just every single time. And I'm French. You can't call me racist for it, but
you can call me.
Yeah.
You can call me that though, because
they stink, so it's fine.
I won't go that far.
Shout out Guillaume. Who knows if he even spoke English? He made it a week without having to say anything.
I had a full conversation with him, and then I realized that Max was translating the conversation after, and Guillaume was just nodding his head and laughing, and I was talking about something serious.
He looked
he was just laughing. I was like, all right.
He does know English.
It didn't clue in that Max had to translate after. I felt bad.
He looks like a guy we just pulled in and just put all this Rebel News merchandise on him, because that's all he wore all week was Rebel News merchandise, different clothes, awesome. But it looks like we just hired this random guy who didn't speak English to work for us. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Maybe that's what we did with Mocha. Maybe that's how that worked out.
Well, the Quebec team is a very, very. What I was saying was the Quebec team is a very, very hardworking team. I've been to Quebec and I've worked with them many times. Alexa, Guillaume, and Maxime, they work almost 7 days a week, and nonstop. They work nonstop, and I think it's a very good team with a lot of potential. And when you work with Rebel News in Quebec, you get a lot of positive feedback from the public. The favorite place I would like to be, my favorite place is Quebec. I just like it. The people are more, I don't want to discriminate against other provinces.
Yeah, it's not nicer.
Look, the worst things happen to me in Quebec. Arrestations, detentions, the tickets, and all that.
Punched in the face.
Simply not wearing a mask. Yeah. But also the most beautiful things also happened in Quebec. So I have a complicated relationship with Quebec. Let's say that.
What's one of the beautiful things?
One of the beautiful things?
Yeah, what's that? Tell us about your love. Oh, he's getting shy.
He's getting shy. Yeah.
It's a
Oh.
good province. I like the streets, for example.
Yeah.
The what?
It's quite is it homogeneous area in Canada? I mean, I've never been. I've only been to Toronto personally, but Quebec is very is it homogeneous? Is that the way you say it?
Like French, basically. Yeah, but
Pretty
they all
much,
speak
pretty
English.
French.
And they all pretend that they don't speak English. They want you to try to speak French, and then they'll
Right.
speak English to you. And this
Right,
is, you know,
okay.
like I said, my relatives are all live there. My dad just went back to Quebec. He was down here for a month. He's fully vaccinated, but he still thinks there's a plot to kill him by the government, which is interesting. It's an interesting juxtaposition he's got. I'm gonna do it. They want to kill me. It's very interesting. And he's very French. French is his first language. Looks like we lost Mocha, but I'm sure he'll be back. What do you guys think's coming next, though? Do you think they finally are going to start slowing the stuff down? I mean, Israel's fourth boosters. Kian, you're saying yes? You think?
Yeah, in the West, I think it's obvious. It's the midterms. Jack Brosbeck, I think, said it the best that Anthony Fauci just didn't get the memo. So you just see him completely fear mongering. But I think everybody else is going to start pulling back and change the narrative off of COVID so that they win the midterms. They're going to try and act like nothing like this ever happened, is my opinion. And then that'll ripple into Canada. And who knows, maybe they'll all lose the midterms, all the Democrats, and then it just won't come back. That's my hope. That's my white pill.
Well, you see a lot of them saying how masks weren't effective now. I mean, things that people like myself have been saying from the start. They're now saying that the surgical masks and the cloth masks, they don't do anything. So why are we doing that? And that's obviously when the news networks in the US start talking in unison, it's because they're getting legitimate talking points in order to say these things. And conspiracy theory here. Doug Ford changed his Twitter profile to a picture of him without a mask on. So take with that what you will, Louis Brackpool. I don't know how closely you follow Doug Ford's account of things. I think, I'm sort of thinking the same way. I think Ford wanted to leave everything because he looks more and more nervous every time. But like they get into this whole thing. It's like, I don't know where they get it from. It's like they're all afraid of what Twitter is going to say. So when one of them does something, the rest of them has to do it. Of course, Trudeau and the Bidens and such are all in on this different plan. But when it comes down to like provincial and state level, it's like they have this whole, like, they're afraid to be different. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, literally, he just quit COVID. I don't know if you guys saw that the other day. He basically said that there's nothing the federal government can do. And they're not going to do anything. It's a state's problem now. This guy campaigned on saying the phrase, I'm not going to shut down the country. I'm going to shut down the virus. And I wish I had a Joe Biden impression, but I don't. But yeah, they're backing off of it now. Lewis, is there any end in sight? I don't know why. Like the UK, they might, like, they seem to have a stronger sense of, like personhood and unity, like a common thing about them, about being English, that Canada doesn't have anymore. But at the same time, like, I see it more as you guys do stuff of like the gay stuff, like your police have to be gay, Islam is better than everything, but it's also gay. Like that seems to be the stuff you guys are on the forefront of. But in terms of like individual identity, I feel like it's still there.
Yeah, well, we're going through a bit of a national identity crisis. We've been going through that for decades now. In the UK, where almost people are, don't like to be British, and they say that we're just horrible colonialists, and that's what gets taught in the schools.
Sounds
unfortunately,
familiar.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? I think from covering the protests that I've been at ever since I started with Rebel News, it's expanded dramatically. In terms of that, and I do see a massive unity now. My followers are from all over the place, left, right, independent, green, doesn't matter. Like everyone's sort of having this coming together, so they're going to have a massive shock when I start talking very conservative. Bless them. But I think the real unity is really revolving around these ridiculous mandates and legislation. I mean, the UK are in talks at the minute about a fourth booster shot as well, which is insane. And people are really starting to ask questions, which I think is very important. And I want to say as well, breaking news from earlier is the man who invented the mRNA vaccines, Robert Malone. He's just been banned off Twitter for speaking out against mandatory vaccinations for children and speaking out against the corrupt governments and the big pharmaceutical companies. So even the inventor of his own vaccine can't criticize his own vaccine and the government. Here it is. Yeah, mRNA inventor. Yeah. This just happened today. So I screen grabbed that. I put it on Twitter and on my Instagram and just questioned it. I said, why? Like, why is it that all these big tech companies are silencing the person that invented the mRNA vaccine? Bearing in mind, this is the vaccine that the majority of the population has injected into themselves, right? And he's out there criticizing it. So it seems to me that he's gone a bit rogue, and he's not part of this establishment, big tech, big pharma sort of collusion where they're all being paid to, I don't know how spicy I can get with this, but pretty much all being paid to promote this. And he's gone, well, actually, there's some bad stuff that you should really question. But
apparently he's going on Rogan. He'll be on Rogan,
he's going on Rogan
tomorrow. And he shared an article that claimed the something does more harm than good. That's interesting.
That's the inventor.
Substack.
Yeah, that's the inventor of these vaccines saying that. So you've got to ask yourself, really?
I guess this is what he posted.
Let's have a look. 12 to 15 adolescent trial, all risk, no benefit. Oh, sorry. Am I allowed to read that out?
Just don't say the key words, I'd say.
Okay. Okay. There's a placebo group. Okay.
0 tested positive out of 1,018 in the inoculated group. 18 tested positive in the placebo group. So that's bad.
It's very bad.
They claim they were great results. 0% risk. Yeah, I'm going to save. We'll just go ahead and save the image that.
Save that for a rainy day.
And we'll post it on one of the lesser, restrictive things. You can see everybody just saw all my downloads of 270818888 movie. Hillary Clinton Cries is one of them. We saw hentai, Lewis. We don't have that in Canada, you sick bastard. I don't even know what that is. Mocha, what do you think's going to happen with the lockdowns? Do you think we're easing off of them? Do you think they're going to do another? Chris Sky, you guys, who's been banned off Twitter, claims that they're coming for another harsh lockdown. True or false, Mocha?
Well, if you want to ask what I think we're going to be under lockdown forever. What I mean by that, just like we've been under the income tax since the World War. They said, oh, it's a temporary measure to fund the war. The war is over. It's been many, many years, and we're still paying income tax. So once the government gets the power, it never lets go. It just grows and grows and grows. But I want to point out something in regards to what Lewis said. When he said there is a lack of national, when he said there,
lack of national identity.
Identity, yes. So I was reading this book about a year ago from Roger Scruton, and the book is named How to Be a Conservative. And
great book.
Yeah, and he mentions that being a conservative is like you're in a family. A fight breaks out, an argument happens or whatever, a big disagreement. But at the end of the day, you sit down on the same table and eat. There is like somewhere to come together at one. You know what I mean? Well, today, if you're not vaccinated, you're not even allowed to sit on that table. So that's how divided, that's how horrible, that's where we are right now. It's we need to comprehend the magnitude of it, you know.
Okay, I had a
I,
question for you. Looking at your YouTube channel with the all-seeing eye here, which is very suspicious. Did you ever get any criticism in Turkey that was like you're working for the government or anything like that? Did you ever get the controlled opposition argument over there?
No, I don't. I haven't. Um, well, most of the people on my channel,
oh, he's
Can't hear
gone.
you now.
He's going to quickly change.
We're watching him
Hello.
change equipment live. There we go. Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. My earpods, whatever, they died. So what I was saying is, most of my followers are from Turkey, and they rather see the videos where I articulate some libertarian or anarchist viewpoints on the government in Turkey and give my criticisms. But I have stopped doing that because I'm busy doing other work, and I rather do what do you call it? I rather do news stories connecting the East and the West, you know, Turkish world and English world, and because I see there's a lacking force there, so I want to be that force. But that's what I'm trying to do right now with my news reports. But yeah, I don't know if this answered your question.
I guess so. Well, if they didn't say that you're controlled opposition like they do to us here, then that's the long and short of it, I guess. There's that
funny,
good time
funny
where
you say that. Funny you
Mhm.
say that. I got called a shill the other day, and said
Who
that
are
I
you
was
shilling
controlled
for?
opposition. Someone incited violence against Bojo, and I said, I don't want to hear it. I said, that's ridiculous. I don't want to engage with this. This is horrific. You know, I'm not a believer in violence or any of that sort of stuff. And because I said disavow to a particular comment, that means that I'm a shill and that and that I'm controlled opposition. I don't know
Well,
how that works
people
personally.
I don't think people understand that if you're a random, what's a British name? Johnny Poppycock, that you can say pretty much whatever you want and nobody's going to care. But if you're TV's Lewis Brackpool, you can't just be saying things because you can get arrested, taken off the air, fired, all these other things, whether you believe them or not. And I believe you when you say you don't believe in the violence. But even if you did and you were like this guy and you wanted to say this stuff, the risk reward factor for Johnny English, which I believe is a movie starring Rowan Atkinson,
Good movie.
the risk is far lesser for him as opposed to me coming on here and saying
At least for now.
whatever.
At least for now.
Expand.
I'm saying at least the risk is lower for the ordinary person to say whatever he wants. The risk is lower for him just for now. Because in
you're going
Turkey,
somewhere different with that.
Well, bear in mind,
if you're an
right?
ordinary citizen, you should think twice before you give your opinion on the economy, for example. And I feel like that's the direction we're headed in terms of becoming more authoritarian. You know,
Well,
everybody is worshiping the state these days.
It's true.
I mean,
and isn't it interesting how it came voluntarily as well? Like, as long as it's this weird fantasy land where it's become like the government doesn't have to push stuff down your throat as much, where it's people just thinking that they're being a good person. And sometimes I wonder, because I watched this documentary a few years ago, probably in like 2019, about the starting of socialism in China and like the Maoists and everything, and how they turned the children on their teachers, and if the teacher said something like that the kids didn't like, they'd all band together and get them fired or beat them up, frankly, and they'd all carry around their book of Mao And if somebody didn't carry the book, they were like, why aren't you carrying the book of the leader? Do you not believe in the leader and stuff like that? And it sort of made me think that maybe what China is, as we know it, is literally just a country of social justice warriors, whereas everything became, too politically incorrect to say. All you had this group collective think, and anybody who stepped outside of it would be punished, like COVID, or like like a super progressive mantra, where it's like if you can't, if you're talking bad about the leader, or if you're talking bad about COVID, well, you're not accepted in this society. And if that goes to a certain length, then the government doesn't really have to do anything. These people act as if they're in a cult, and they do the government's bidding for them. And all the while they think they're doing it they're doing it as a good person. Like, if you don't believe in all this stuff, then you don't want to help people. You want to kill grandma, etc. And just in China, it would have been, if you don't believe in all this stuff, then you don't believe about, like equal and fair treatment and the farmers and the workers and everything. And of course, their government collapsed once they started like taking people's stores from them and being like, you go out and work in the lands and, redistribute the farmland. Same thing happened in Africa a couple times. But I wonder sometimes if that's just how that sort of stuff happens, and you don't necessarily need a huge push from the government to do it. Now, having said that, I'm not as familiar as how that stuff sort of happened in like Yugoslavia or the USSR. But that's just, watching those documentaries really just made it. I'm like, this is the beginning stages here. It might just take a little bit while longer. But now we sort of transition to COVID stuff, which is slightly different, but it's more of the government overreach for sure. Once they're saying, we're going to give you money for your business, and if you can't pay us back, then we own your business. That's straight, like, that's as communist as it gets, like black and white.
Yeah. And, I'm a big believer in the Great Reset. Massive believer. I don't even care, like, get laughed at, but like it's there for everyone to see. I mean, I
thought you meant like you want it to happen.
Oh, no. I'm a big believer. I want to say that properly, actually. I'm a big believer that the Great Reset is happening, and that I'm vehemently against it. Then. Yeah, take that out and just
sure, we're taking that out of context.
Freudian slip, is that what they say? I'm a big believer that it's happening, and it's there. It's not a conspiracy. It's there for people to see. I mean, the man, the myth, the legend, Klaus Schwab, the James Bond villain, has even written a book talking, literally called The Great Reset, where this idea has come from, where where I think he spoke about.
I got it right here.
Yeah, have you got it?
Yeah.
Go on, show it on camera. There it is.
Wow, nice reverse camera, Kian.
I think he speaks about like, is it brain implants, like with computer chips and stuff? I mean, there's some wacky ideas in there. It's a manifesto, is what it is.
I didn't go the book route. Writer Dave has the book, but I went and listened to their Great Reset podcast, which is a real thing, and then I made that video about all the all the leaders saying "Build Back Better," and it is. It's up there on their website. Klaus Schwab wrote like 2 articles about it, and it's all just like, it's really weird. It involves the leader, like MasterCard, BP Oil. I don't know, like, did BP Oil get conned into stuff before when they had the big oil spill? That's my guess. Microsoft, an international trade workers union, and like a whole bunch of stuff. And then of course UK, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, American leaders all have their platforms as Build Back Better. But the policy they're putting is all carbon tax, and then change to green energy, and basically please work from home and use automated stuff. It's like, don't leave your house, but increase fuel taxes and increase natural energy taxes so that we can replace the current oil billionaires, who are probably more right-wing and conservative, with our green energy billionaires. And that's the way we're going to do it. That's how we get out of it. One of them even says the way to get out of like the economic turmoil is by like climate change initiatives, which is taxation. I don't understand. Mocha's a big fan of taxation.
These people were supposed to fill the potholes on the roads, and now they are ruling our lives. You know, what I feel like is that everybody who are against these collective goals, great reset or whatever, you know, we should all come together and have our own country, have our own constitution or whatever. You know, only people who are not ashamed to sign the constitution are allowed in. And whatever the president or the prime minister takes, whoever voted for them will be held accountable in terms of damages done to a third person. Um, I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box because I don't see a country where, you know, I guess we're all fans of democracy, but I ask to myself, what if a majority of the people agree to rob you, murder you, rape you, steal from you? You know, what if they agree on that? Are we just going to say, oh,
Well,
well, it's democracy? What if they
I
say, what
think
if 70% of the voters in a Western country says we want Sharia law? Oh, well, it's democracy. Like,
well, the theist
I'm
would tell you
sorry.
that's why you have to get your laws from God, is what a religious person would tell you, I think, and that would prevent it, assumingly. Now I know we've had these conversations about how do we govern ourselves moving forward. I think that one of the steps forward needs to be like, I forget the word, but you get to basically decide what your taxes go towards. A more of a like a smorgasbord of taxation, where you can say, like, of course you need money for the roads. In Canada, people are going to freak out if you take out any money from the healthcare system at all. I'd like to cut it. That's me personally, not entirely, but at least a chunk of it. And you got to keep the essential things, even though that might mean something else these days. But do I
Michael
want
loves that word.
do I want to have my taxes per drag queen story time at the local library? No. Now, it might not be that specific on my my tax card, but like, do I want to pay for this highway? There's a toll on it. We have that in Ontario called the 407. It's owned by a foreign company, and you have to pay to go on it. Who do you think maintains it? Who do you think pays for the cameras and everything? We do. So do I want to pay towards that? No. Should I have the option? I think I should have the option to that. Do I want to, like, we can even put in healthcare. Do I want public healthcare, or do I want to have to pay for it? Should I opt in and opt out for that? There's lots of stuff. I don't know. Should you live in a neighborhood where, some neighborhoods have more policing than the other by design? Like, it's all these things. I think we need more options as what is done with our money, as opposed to here's $100 billion to Doug Ford, who's just an idiot. I'm sorry to say, and I never used to talk that way before, but it's clear that people running us are stupid.
Yeah.
Why does he get to decide what to do with all of my money when he mismanages it constantly? Why don't I get to decide that maybe I should keep some of that money? And I feel like that's how it's more that way in the U.S., just by way of lesser state and sales tax. I don't know about you guys. Does anybody, like, Kian, do you have any suggestions about a new system? Are you fine with this system?
Well, I guess I kind of want to take it the other way, of what I think the system is going to turn into, if that's okay with you. Because it kind of goes back. It kind of goes back to what you guys were talking about before. Lewis brought up the Great Reset. I don't necessarily believe the Great Reset and the way that they're giving it to us. And when I first met Ezra in person, actually, I asked him a question about Nazis, and I said it's really interesting how they got both sides of the political spectrum to call each other Nazis. And the way that's interesting is because they're using the democracy against us, to where we're both criticizing the government because they're not following how we want to be led. So I think the whole idea, and this is my conspiracy here, this is where I act like a wingnut. I think where it's going is not anything to do with government. I think they're trying to destabilize government. And when that happens, one side of the spectrum thinks that, oh, they're going to lead, the other side of the spectrum thinks they're going to lead, but the first people to come in are corporations. And the whole thing about what happened with COVID right now is that, sure, our patriotic sense has gone down the drain, and we're all fighting and whatever, but their competition, the government doesn't have competition here because they have the other side of the political spectrum by the neck. There's no conservative base here in Canada. The Liberals are just going to keep going because we don't have a leader. But the opposite side of if the corporations came in, their competition is literally small businesses, mom and pop shops, and even medium-sized businesses that, sure, there's a few across the country, and even those are getting destroyed right now. And it's just going to be the major corporations who are going to be, buying those places when they need the bailout now. It's not going to be the government buying that in the future, I don't think. I think we're going to be led by corporations like Amazon, Google.
Yeah,
and then Tech, Facebook.
Yeah, the metaverse.
They're going to lead us.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that sort of the same thing? Lewis, you want to say something first?
I was going to just say I'll get banned in the metaverse, knowing me, get thrown to the gulag by the old Zuckerberg. Probably have clamps on your VR so that you can't take it off for 3 days.
Well, isn't that sort of the same thing, Kian, as the Great Reset? Because that's backed by all these companies, and I think it's just all these companies using the politicians to push what they want. I mean,
they're going to need politicians in the future.
No, exactly. But right now, people think that like Justin Trudeau talks nice. Boris was supposed to be like the rescue from the far leftism. But in Australia and New Zealand, I see it as like this is what the people seem to want. Like this is what they want this, whether they recognize it or not as some sort of weird corporate elitism. This appears to be what they want because they're not standing up against it at all.
Well, these things don't happen like overnight, do they? I mean, we had a conversation earlier about how long it takes before people get pretty much under a certain amount of control. I mean, take China for example. I think they're the biggest threat. I think them and maybe Russia, I would say, are the biggest threat to the West at the minute.
Russia ain't no threat.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think Russia's a threat either.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. No, no, not in that way. Not in the election stuff, which we won't delve into. But
even military, they're not a threat.
I mean, the whole Ukraine,
like the size.
Ukraine's tiny though. Russia will never be able to mobilize against a big country ever. They have no logistics.
Sure.
They haven't been in a war since World War II, and they sucked terribly.
yeah, maybe
back.
You're right.
Build back better, Lewis. Fight your battle here.
No, you might be right. I'm not.
And Putin's against all that stuff. He's against he's. I mean, sure, he's
pretty based,
but he's pretty based, and I don't think he's. Yeah. I think that they're getting attacked in the media for a reason. I'm not saying I'm like pro Russia, pro communism or anything, but I think that there's a reason why they're getting punished by seeing.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Sorry to jump.
That's all right. That's all right. I think with China being the biggest threat, it didn't happen overnight, and your question as well, K2 to Ezra, about the Nazis and how we've managed to get both sides to destabilization. This sort of stuff just doesn't happen overnight, and I was explaining about where we're moving to a friend earlier, and we were discussing about the passports, and I see it as like a Trojan horse to the social credit score system. I think I've been pretty open and clear about that. China obviously has that model built in already in their society, where if you misbehave, or if you post something anti-inflammatory about the government online, then you have a point system, and then that gets reduced, and it gets to a point where you can't even buy from supermarkets, you can't travel, and you're pretty much like a prisoner in your own country. You can't flee, you can't do anything. Now, people say, "Oh, what? So you think Boris Johnson is trying to replicate China? You think he's going to go in that direction?" Not necessarily, but it becomes a different type of model. And what's been happening with personal data and that being harvested with the vaccine passports, now they're harvesting data within the NHS pass, things like biometric data, genetic data, and your political views as well. Is part of the data that they collect. Your religious views and your philosophical views, they're all in this database and system. So, and we talked briefly about human augmentation, this ridiculous radical step that this government has put out, and that was only in May 2021 that they're speaking about it. So it doesn't happen overnight, and it's under the guise of something. The passports is under the guise of health, that we're going to stop the spread. And even though we know that the vaccinated and the unvaccinated can still spread COVID, we know that that's just facts. But it's under the guise of something, so people believe that, and it takes time and spoon feeding all of this information, and then it gets to the point where the Trojan horse bursts, and that's it. We're too far gone. But then the people still see it as a good thing, because it'd probably be under the guise of something else, like safety, security. And you see that, and you see that all that information, and then you go, what do we do? How do you stop that? And I think it's all about just destabilizing it as it goes. So tiny little things like trying to get rid of the vaccine passport. It's proving to be a tough battle, obviously, but enough people that, disobey, and mass civil disobedience, I think you can achieve some really, really good results. And you can only do that at these early stages, because you'll get to a point where you won't be able to criticize. I mean, our free speech laws suck as it is. They're more interested in mean tweets on Twitter, like I've said, than actual fighting real crime, which is shocking. We had a thing called hate crime incidents, where people would get knocks on their front doors if a hate crime had occurred, where someone had said something inflammatory online to someone. Police would turn up to their doorstep and be like, "Is this you on Facebook saying to this person X, Y, and Z?" And you're like, "Yeah."
The FBI agent in the COD lobby.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? God, can you imagine them? Court cases on them. Yeah. So it gets to a point where you go, how do you disrupt this to stop it from getting to a point of no return? And I know it sounds conspiratorial, but the evidence is there. And this is not a theory. This is not what I'm saying. This is the information that the governments are bringing out to the people. It's there for people to read, but no one's going to go on and look at documentation. I did today, and I kind of, in a way, wish I hadn't, because now I'm blackpilled so hard that I'm like manic depressive. So,
who else didn't know Bruce could read?
Well,
yeah.
On your point of social credit system, I think they're gonna need a new marketing strategy to market that to the people. For example,
absolutely,
the experts say that the social credit system will eradicate racism. Every time a racist makes a racist comment, it will decrease his social credit system and won't allow it to have get bank loans or something. And then the expert will come on camera and say, well, we're very excited about this new system. As you know, when you put a price on racism, when you put a real price on discrimination, when you put a real price on people not getting vaccinated, that really helps to bring us closer to a brighter future. I mean, think about the minorities. Think about the, people who can't wear a mask. Think about the people who can't take the job because of, we're trying to protect them or something like that, blah, blah, blah. But we will see the marketing strategy to justify that. And we will see many people turning against each other. Oh, you don't believe in the social credit system?
Oh, you must be racist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course you don't want the social credit system because you want to be racist. Bastard. That kind of arguments will occur.
That's it. It's like BLM. Black Lives Matter. I'm not a supporter at all. It's
You are.
impossible to it's impossible to be a conservative and support Black Lives Matter. It's just impossible. And anyone who is conservative or says that they're conservative and they support a Marxist movement, proof is in the pudding. But then there was a point where you say, oh, so you don't support BLM. Okay, so do Black Lives not matter to you then? And it's those sort of rhetoric, that sort of rhetoric that's so divisive and dangerous and just so untrue. So that can be used. That we know that rhetoric is so powerful. It is so powerful. So if you use that rhetoric for, like, Mocha, great example with the social credit score. If it's under the guise of something, for your example, it was racism. No, I don't know a single person who enjoys racism. I don't think even racists like racism, because they're what they're like. They're just nuts. So yeah, it's all under the guise of something, because it looks like you're doing good and you're cleaning up society. But then, it's such a minefield.
You guys think that Oh, you go, Andrew.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think that what you guys are saying serves both sides of it. Like the social credit system and all that talk of virtue signaling, it definitely favors the people who want to be in government and stay in power, whereas the systems that come along with that benefit these giant corporations. Like, let's just say you have a social credit system. What's the company that gets to design it? What's the platform that gets to hold it? And they're going to make billions of dollars because they're the only ones serving that technology. When what's the concert? When Ticketmaster wanted to come out with a vaccine passport before society was ready for it, apparently, they were partnering with IBM and Microsoft, who were creating this health pass, which you upload your stuff to on an IBM Microsoft platform. And then Ticketmaster takes it from there. And then you have to have the technology that integrates the two systems of IBM and Ticketmaster. So obviously these 2 or 3 companies involved in this are the ones that are going to make all this money. And if they can prove that it works, then they're going to start selling that concept, nationally, internationally, globally. And then that's who stands to benefit from it. Now, there's all that stuff that comes out about Bill Gates wanting to do stuff I can't mention on this, but it's the same thing with Fauci. The lab leak theory. If this comes out, and then we can push these vaccines, and Pfizer makes all this money, and then we're the heroes, and we're the only ones who, and you make all that money that way. And who benefits from it from a social or governmental standpoint? Well, it's the Justin Trudeau's who say we're gonna take care of this for you and keep you safe. And in places like here in Australia, people seem to think they've done a great job. I've had people tell me, well, he's done the best he can do. He's in a tough situation. He's trying to take care of everybody. I don't see how we get out of that. And I'm the list of places that are free is diminishing by the day. And I feel like with Joe Biden being so poorly seen in his job in the U.S. and for him to just give up on this, it's like they're just gonna hope that he disappears for a few months so they can get maybe some standing back. What were you gonna say, Kian?
I just I don't know if I'm black-pilled enough to believe that the social credit system is going to come here in the form that Mocha would talk about. If you say something, you lose 200 points, and then you can't go somewhere. I think it's going to be more climate based, where it's your climate footprint. I think it's going to be all that. I think it's going to be well after coronavirus is a thing, and it's going to be more so you can go to a restaurant twice a week and that's it.
Carbon credits.
I don't think that and this is me being white pilled, I don't think that restaurants and stores and whatever, I don't think they'll take that. The social credit system where you can't come in unless you have a plus 400. I don't think that we're at that point. I don't think we'd ever get to that point. But I think that if it was climate based and they said, well, the world's going to end, everything's going to be on fire, I think that's when they'll be like, okay, that makes sense. You've already been to your 2 stores this week. You've already been to your restaurant. You had your dinner. Just like everybody else, we all get 1 or 2, and that's it. I think that's the only way that it'll come in and people will accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what
You've
if
got climate lockdowns
band
as well
together? what if the corporations just decide to band together and that's the credit score? What if every airline agrees to this system where if you commit jaywalking or you have too many speeding tickets, well, this gets uploaded to the airline system powered by, Microsoft or Zip Recruiter. And they say, oh, no more flying. We've all agreed to this stuff. Now you have to hope that smaller airlines would say, we'll take the business. But has that really happened here so far with the other stuff? Have a whole bunch of restaurants opened up that say we won't, or we will not ask for unvaccinated people? I mean, people say it and people do it, but is there like an overwhelming amount where it's like I can't go see a movie, I can't go sit in a restaurant that I know of around where I live? There's a couple in Toronto, yes, but go ahead, Mocha.
Sorry, I was gonna say the ones that wanted to accept the unvaccinated have been raided by police. They have been ticketed, fined thousands of dollars. Their property had been seized. They have been jailed, and they've been forced to sign court documents and so on. So the government even doesn't allow a business to have the unvaccinated as guests. So it completely eradicates that dynamic of customer-based business where the business operates based on whatever the customers wish, which is basically democracy. Because if customers are okay with unvaccinated people eating side by side, and if the business is okay with that, then who the hell is the government to say, no, you can't do that? And since they were able to do it with businesses, they went along and dare to do it with homes as well. They now decide how many people you can have in your home based on your vaccination status. In Alberta, I don't know if it's still valid, but about a couple months ago, if you were unvaccinated, you were not allowed to have anyone in your household. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, why is this thing still exist? I don't know. It's becoming more and more unbearable.
I don't think it can last forever. I really don't. If people were truly, really, and I'm not saying that people haven't, but if people were just dropping like flies everywhere, it'd be a lot different. But it can't last forever. People are catching it. I just came off of it. I'm on my last day of Omicron right now, and it wasn't so bad. People are.
We can't say that.
Mild.
I can't say that. It was mild. It wasn't horrible.
That is allowed. You are allowed to recount your own story on YouTube, even. Well, that's what they say. At the end of the day, they can do whatever they want. But I tend to go to I sort of just believe that most people in Canada don't believe in absolute freedom, or at least to an extent that I do, where it's like, I mean, I'm looking at places in the States. What are the first things I look at? We know they have freedom of speech. I look at the castle doctrine laws, the gun laws, and the taxes, and the prices of housing, obviously. I look up Arizona. I'm happy to find out that you can shoot a person who breaks into your home, threatening to steal your property or threatening your life. You can actually do that. Now, I'm not saying that's what I want to happen or I'm going to hope for that. It's just saying like the level of freedom to the individual is much more in, what's the list here? Arizona, Texas,
Montana,
Florida, Montana, South Dakota. They just came out with a list, and I talked about this on Sunday, of where all the population migration went in the States in 2021. And California and New York are the top of the list for people leaving them in the hundreds of thousands. And then Texas and Florida are at the top of the other direction. And now you've got Joe Biden saying that this is all states' problem, and CNN saying the masks don't work. And it's like, you spent 2 years calling these people evil and bad people for not following your rules. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's nothing we can do to stop this. So you guys just be left to your own devices, because it hasn't worked. But like, the same stuff has happened here in Canada. Like, none of this stuff has worked. None of the lockdowns have worked. The efficacy of something that we can't mention hasn't gone nearly as well as they claimed it would be, even if the studies show that it did in a controlled environment. You can have questions about that, but people don't seem to care. Like, you see Lincoln's report in Toronto, and they're just like, yeah, bring on the new lockdowns. You see the lineups for tests. see the lineups for boosters. Like 2 million people got a booster in Ontario within the first week. And that's 10 million people in the population. So 20% just said, oh, the government says we need a booster. We better go get it. Like this far into it, you're still just, somebody throws an apple and you go chase it that easily. And I wonder, like, what else will you not do? What can the government tell you to do at this point that you will say no to? And I think it's very, very little. You're willing to stay home. You're willing to give up your job. You're willing to give up going out places. You're willing to not see your dying family members. You're willing to get injected with something. You're willing to pay higher taxes. You're willing to have the government pay for things with your money over and over again. That's talking with the healthcare system where they keep pumping billions into it and nothing changes. You're willing to let them restrict your travel, lock you into your country, make it so you can't go to a restaurant. Can anybody name something that they're not going to do? Like if somebody in the government says we're coming to take your child with you for their safety, I'm pretty sure half of the people in Canada would be okay with it. That's a bold claim, I know, but if they got 3 steady months of propaganda that said, we've built this great facility for your children, and it's basically like Hitler Youth School at this point, not with the same policies, but in terms of the government is going to take care of your children now, and it's free for you, and it's great, and it's wonderful, and we'll take you there all day. But they just switch it to be, it's for your safety, it's for public safety, so your kids will be safe in a vaccinated and clean environment. I can't say. Maybe I'll lower my guess to 30% of people that will go through with it. I don't know about you guys, but that's like, what kind of pill is that I've taken? Black pill, red pill,
clown pill.
You said that I instantly disagreed with you, and then I thought about it for about 10 more seconds, and I think you're right. I was going to say probably like 10%, but yeah, 30% for sure.
The taking away of the children is already happening in a way. Meaning, what I mean by that is, in Canada, your views on the vaccine could affect whether or not you take the custody of the child or the mother or the other father. So
really,
also
that's
in
mad.
foster care facilities, they mandate that caretakers be fully vaccinated, and also they better be ready to be vaccinated for the 3rd dose if it's required by the public health, or else they need to return the child, and they will leave, or they will lose the financial help that they are receiving. I did a story about this. The parent of the child, the grandparent of the child, is okay with the person who's taking care of his grandchild, is okay with the caretaker being unvaccinated, but the agency who gives the money is not okay with that. So, like, people need to know their place. The agencies, the government, they need to be reminded of their place. That's none of their business.
They do need to be reminded of it, but we've gotten to the point now where it seems obvious to me where teachers think they know what's best, and the people working in corporations don't take the approach of, well, it's not my place to say, I'm representing a business. They will tell on you for something. They will call the police, even if they say they don't believe in policing. They will do all these things. They'll take it into their own hands. They'll tell you that you need to wear a mask. They'll tell you to get out if your mask is below your nose. I had a girl, she probably 17 at Walmart. This is like last year, try to tell me to pull up my mask while I was sipping coffee. And I was just like, I said, no, it's cool. I'm not going to listen to some kid, but like, they've basically deputized common people to think that they're doing the right thing. And I don't see, I agree that they need to be put in their place in a sense, but that just doesn't seem to happen anymore. People think because Trump broke their brains that it's their duty to stand up for what's right, and they're unknowingly standing up for, whether you want to call it communism or some sort of authoritarianism. They think they're doing the right thing, and that's what I'm guessing. That's why people used to have this position where it's like, don't take this stance on behalf of a company, or don't take this stance at your job. You're supposed to be impartial.
Voila.
Voila.
It's very worrying times, isn't it? I'm actually a bit more depressed after this. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Don't worry, you've got all your British candies, and there's a Downton Abbey movie coming out where they go to France, so don't worry about that.
Yeah,
said
I'm not going to be watching that.
2 million Ontarios got their booster.
That's what I thought I read from Doug Ford's feed.
I just while you're on your rant there, I went to go see Alberta's, and Jason Kenney tweeted that 120,000 got it here. I think that's a good number.
Let me see if I'm wrong.
Oh, and he also has his profile picture without a mask.
So yeah, so they're all. That's the sad thing about Canada is like all the leaders are lock and step. They make a decision as all like 7 of the conservative premiers.
Let's my hero and our Doug savior Kenny was first.
DuckDuckGo, as much as it's more free, it kind of sucks at the same time. I try to use it as much as possible, but we're gonna go Doug Ford on
Google bought DuckDuckGo.
Did they? Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well then,
guys, it was nice talking to you, and thank you to our viewers who watched us. I need to take off. I'm going to record a video, and I gotta do it before the sun sets. So I need to leave early. Sorry.
It's only 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Mocha.
Goodbye, Mocha.
No,
I was wrong.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Province said 250,000 doses on 5. That was a week ago, though. I need updated numbers. I could have swore I saw 2 million. That could be fake news.
A 250,000 compared to 125,000 in Alberta. That's really low for Ontario compared to here, percentage-wise.
Well, it's at least 250,000. I guess I'm wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. But I still don't see, like, the government tells you to do something and you're just like, oh my God, I got to go do this right now or else we're all going to die. Like, Jesus. Like, where have we come? Somebody says they're canceling the juniors in Edmonton over a few. Yeah, so they're also canceling a bunch of college football bowl games in the U.S., which is obviously millions of dollars for the city and the schools. They're not canceling the playoff games, so like they have a Final Four essentially in college football, but they're canceling all this stuff over cases and asymptomatic cases as well, which is insane. Like, they're still doing this, and part of it, like, people are just too lazy to come up with new protocols. They just like shut her down, boys. It's so pathetic.
It's lazy.
It is, and that's what these, like, somebody was like, Doug Ford, Jason Kenney, it's time to send a different message. Change your profile pictures to you without a mask. And we'll send a new message now. It's like they're so transparent and dumb. And I have an argument with my friends sometimes about, like, the people in the government not having real influence and nobody cares who they are. And they're not, like, he argues that Mitt Romney's really influential. And I'm just like, nobody cares what Mitt Romney has to say. They only trot him out when it's against Republicans or something. And I just say, like, we're familiar with the people in these parties. Like, the guy blocking Alexa and David Menzies from going to press conferences, that guy. And, like, the people ushering around, like, Melissa Lantzman and these people who are just, you know, like, people we work with know them personally. And, like, you see a pattern in them. Like, they're not brilliant people. They're not respectable men. And it's like, these are the people running your country. Like, we're metaphorically a foot away from them, and they get all this power, and it's really stupid. I guess we can close by showing Lewis's
oh, it went up
again. Yeah, we're almost at 6,000 there. So that's rebelnews.com/fight vaccine passports. And why is it not fightvaccinepassports.uk, Lewis? Because
the UK hates phishing activity, is what they called it, because the term vaccine could be used as malicious content, so they blocked the URL. Because originally it was fightvaccinepassports.co.uk, but it got flagged, and I don't know who's sorting that out. Some company was like, yeah, this could be phishing activity, and it could be used as malicious content. So we're going to block that, and then obviously guys at Rebel behind the scenes have been trying to fix that. So we just launched rebelnews.com/fight vaccine passports UK instead, in the meantime, whilst we get that sorted. But yeah, they don't like using the term vaccine as a URL. Bit strange.
Unbelievable.
So ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Hey Andrew,
Yeah.
I just
All right,
saw.
thank
I don't know if
Mhm.
if you want to wait the 5 minutes, but Ghislaine Maxwell's verdict is in.
No
Oh,
way.
goodness. Let's see what it
Maybe
says on
you could break that live.
Yes,
Here we
Ghislaine.
go. Yeah, guilty of
Ghislaine.
conspiracy to
Ghislaine.
entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Not guilty of enticement of minor to travel to engage in a illegal sex act. Guilty of conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Oh, that's 1/2 of a thread. That's not even the second half out yet because it's so new. Maybe you can
Attempting
find
to
something
share
better
it.
here.
Oh wow.
Let's see what this website has. Helping lure children, of course. Let's see if anything else is on the old Twitter. Memes. Pictures. Who's putting pictures of themselves up with the hashtag
Here's a
Ghislaine Maxwell?
selfie. Call me.
Yeah. Maybe it's because she looks like her. I don't know. Jury has found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty of everything but one thing.
Yeah, I want to know which one that was. I had it right there.
So this is from today. Yes, updated 6 minutes ago. Socialite Ghislaine on every count except one. She faces 5 years in prison. That's
Oh my.
probably not going to be served. That's not a big, so
5
this is-
years.
It's
Yeah.
very new. Who's going to
Yeah, so
have
she
that, do you
was
think?
she was not guilty of enticement of minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. So she didn't
knew-
get them to travel.
How did I
guess
know Daily
that's
Mail
an
would have
Epstein
it?
thing.
Based mail.
5 more transcripts. You know that they asked for an expedited conviction or like decision on the jury because of coronavirus, putting them at risk. The verdict will be read in Manhattan, so this might be older. Hold on, let me see here. Breaking news: found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges, including sex trafficking.
Oh, did it say faces rest of her life behind bars?
Yes, so that other one is different. Where's
Yeah,
the
why does it
update,
say
though?
5 years?
Yeah, that was about to piss me off. I was just gonna
Innit?
say that didn't even look like her. I thought they were trying to say that was her.
Reached a verdict. Verdict will be read. So this looks like the story hasn't actually been updated, just the title to get you to click on it. Which I
Right.
guess is smart. I can't blame them. I like how they do their homepage like a newspaper. So fucking British. Well, it is, Lewis.
Yeah, mate.
It's good though.
That's how you do it.
Dave says it's his favorite site now. You like how they always have the tabloid stuff on the side? They just
Yeah.
cover everything. Female today.
So wait, what does that mean for all the other high-level people that were involved? Just off the hook?
Well,
We just
there's
got the
supposed to
one
be
big
those
fish.
CDs and DVDs that weren't found. Like this, the thing I heard, I think it was on Tim Pool, whereas they went and they busted in, like the FBI raided the place. The CDs and DVDs were missing, so they asked for them back, and then they were given back. But like it could be completely different DVDs, and people think that it was obviously like the dirt they had on people or the videos. So who knows? Breaking news on the Andrew Says live stream. I didn't even know what to call this. I just called it the Andrew Says podcast. So maybe
Cool.
this is number 1, but maybe we'll retroactively change the name and we'll have to cut this part. I don't know. Thank you guys for coming on. Kian Simone. What is it? At Kian Simone 22?
44.
44. I was close, halfway there. 22 times 3 is 666. And Lewis _ Brackpool. And Bezirgan Mocha and his 8 YouTube channels that are all bigger than mine. So thanks everybody for watching. I'll see you
Thank
guys
you.
soon.
Cheers.